The worst thing they ever did in the Capitol building was put air conditioning in it. These guys think it need to be year-round. During the 50-day break or whatever you want to call it, I do more work when I'm at home, brother. This is a show up here. These, like I say, these post offices aren't going to name themselves. I do more work at home, and the reason I'm doing more work at home, I'm trying to fix all the problems that we've created up here. Have people can't hop through those hoops. Attorney, rich people can call him an attorney. Working folks call Tim Burchett.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Signal Sitdown, but before we get to the interview, we'd love it if you'd hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you may be joining us. And please remember to give us a 5-star review because we love your feedback. Remember, it's your government, and together we'll expose how it really works and how to affect real change. Without further ado, here's the interview.
Congressman Tim Burchett, welcome to the Signal Sitdown.
Thanks for having me, brother.
What's a war pimp?
A war pimp is somebody who profits off a war, or that enjoys war because it furthers their career. Case in point, you get to the Pentagon, these guys, we got to go to war with these people, they're out to get us, and the intelligence shows that, they bring you into the skiff, and, if we don't get them, they're going to get us. In Congress, if you look at, Ukraine, for instance, under Biden, we gave Ukraine our missile defense system, which I didn't vote for. I vote for a dime as far as I've seen. Then you turn around and you have to replenish our missile defense system, which is a multi-billion-dollar no-bid contract. Members of Congress own stock in that missile defense company, and apparently some of them bought it as soon as a couple of weeks before the president officially made that announcement. So you're in that dadgum committee and you get that information, you buy stock in it, and I get tired of heard a lot of Democrats especially, and then some Republicans say, well, it's good for our economy, man, this Ukrainian thing. So we give them $1, they spend 80 cents on our missiles. We ought to just give the American people that full $1 and not kill anybody.
Right.
And war is not noble. My daddy fought in the Pacific, United States Marine Corps, 1st Marine Division. He was on a little island called Peleliu. His colonel was a man named Chesty Puller, most famous Marine in history of the Marine Corps. And then he was on Okinawa, invasion of both those islands. And after the war, he went to China and fought the communists. When I would wake my daddy up to the day he died, I'd always have to do it by his big toe, because he might wake up on one of those dadgum islands. Yeah. My mama lost her oldest brother, Roy, fighting the Nazis, and he was 33 years old. My mama flew an airplane during the Second World War. Old men make decisions and young men die. And now it's young women as well. We've got to get away from that. That's why a lot of the war pimps don't like Trump, because he understands our most powerful asset is our fighting men and women, but our second most powerful asset is our economy. That's why they hate Trump. He can use that economic weapon, almost flipped a bird. He can use that economic weapon to do that, and they don't like him for that. They don't like me either, but I don't care. I don't like them either.
Well, so this is the Venn diagram of two issues that I really wanted to talk to you about today.
One is that thing Kamala was talking about, the Venn diagram?
Doesn't everybody love Venn diagrams?
I've never even heard of it till she said it. But anyway,
it is foreign policy, and also an issue that is close to your heart, which is banning stock trading among
insider stock trading.
Congress.
Absolutely.
So you gave us a little flavor of how that works vis-a-vis Ukraine
100%.
And non-competitive
Look, if
contracts. How does this work?
Some guy or gal up here making 600% return on their investment, they ought to be working on dadgum Wall Street, not Washington, D.C. And it's, listen, you might not be in the committee meeting that says it, or you might be on the committee that deals with these issues, but it's behind the scenes. We're privileged to a lot of meetings, lobbyists, and think, hey, we're getting ready to invest heavily in this, that, and everything. You pick up the phone, you call your broker, hey, we got to do this. Let's get on this bill. Let's get on this thing. And then we vote for things that are tied to this. So there is all kinds of overlap. It's just got to start. I have a buddy, Tommy Sallard. He managed my $12,000 portfolio of mutual funds. Everybody ought to have a mutual fund, and that's it, and get out. And you shouldn't be penalized, though, to get out. I mean, because it's a legal system, we ought to be able to get out, invest it, and not have to get hit with that capital gains because of a new law. But we need to do that because Congress is infinitely broken, and we are crooked as a dog's leg. And it's bipartisan support for this bill and bipartisan opposition because a lot of people are getting fat off this thing. There's a site called Unusual Whales. Go on there, it lists the top 100. Everybody gripes about Pelosi. She's like number 11 on the violators this year, although she's done incredibly well. Her husband has, I think it is. But it needs to stop.
So it seems like any type
No-brainer.
No-brainer. And
12%
it seems like
of the population votes, dude. People aren't paying attention. All they care about is they're getting their stuff. But hold your elected officials accountable, House and Senate.
And it seems like if anybody in the private markets were caught doing this, if you're caught doing this on Wall Street,
look at Martha Stewart. I mean, it's kind
right.
of questionable what happened to that lady. Poor lady. I wish she's a Republican. She ought to be, but she's a big liberal. But the truth is that, we're stealing. We're stealing, and it's legal. A lot of things have been legal in this country that are not right.
And let's talk. So where's the House Ethics Committee in all of this?
Well,
right?
it's legal. It's legal under, and there was some.
And the
under
people
Obama,
on that committee are often the abusers.
Well, they passed something. Of course they are.
Yeah.
Listen. Congressional ethics is a lot like military intelligence. It doesn't exist. That's a Burchett quote. It makes people mad, both groups, and I don't care anymore. I never did care. I don't care about people up here. It's the people back home I represent, not this knuckleheads up here. Ain't nobody up here going to cry at my funeral. They might drink champagne or go out and celebrate at the Sizzler or something. But we are infinitely broken, and this is just a perfect indicator of it. And it's the tip of the iceberg. But, yeah, we need to do something about it. And it's just wrong that we're able to vote and be briefed on things that we can in turn own stock in.
And the war pimps, the people who make money off of large investments into these defense contractor companies are often the ones beating the table and beating the drums of war.
They are. And I told those guys, I sat in our conference meeting, and they all poo-pooed me. Oh, Burchett, shut up. I said, all you guys banging the war drum out here, for Ukraine, I said, what the hell are y'all going to do when China moves on Taiwan? They'll be hiding because they're owned by the K Street lobbyists who are owned by anybody. You run a $100 bill down the halls of Congress on a fishing line, every door will open and everybody will be running out chasing it. That's just the way it is. And you need to start holding your people accountable.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care if they dated your sister or they taught your Sunday school class, you play golf with them. Vote them out.
And it's completely distorted. Like, this town completely distorts what Americans think about foreign policy all the time. Often we see pretty solid bipartisan consensus, a bipartisan consensus that's pretty moderate, right? Like, if you think about the Israel issue, it's the American people. A plurality think that Hamas is a terrorist organization. A plurality think that Israel was right to respond on October 7th. A plurality think that they want the ceasefire to hold and they want this conflict to end. It's like a completely, totally moderate position. Same thing with Venezuela. A recent CBS YouGov poll just found that 76% of the American people want more explanations from the administration on what they're doing and how they're doing it. Nevertheless, 53% say they support strikes on Venezuelan drug boats.
Yeah.
But 70% oppose actual boots on the ground in Venezuela. And if you walk around this town, the strikes on the drug boats and the regime change narrative against Maduro is all conflated into this one package deal, and the American people aren't thinking about it that way. But people in this town do think about it that way. Why?
Because they're paid to think that way. Mm-hmm. Somebody has a financial interest. Bottom line, follow the dollars. Mm-hmm. I don't know the specifics on the dollars to this, but I can guarantee you somebody's got an interest. And I think that runs this town. The conflict of interest is real on every issue.
And one of the
case in point, trying to defund the Taliban. We send them $40 million a week. State Department $5 billion. Can't get the bill moving in the Senate. It took me a year and a half to get it out of the House because they don't want the NGOs removed, and the NGOs are where we're stealing the money. Elon Musk told me face to face he thinks the NGOs have stolen over $1 trillion, and I believe it.
I think that's probably true.
Well, he sent the State Department.
And how much is that
It's
kicked
$5
back
billion.
to people?
State Department told me $5 billion in a memo I have on my desk. So, and the State Department ain't no friend of mine.
And imagine how much of that just gets kicked back into the coffers of these politicians, right? It's all
100%.
one big money
We
laundering
also say
scheme,
dark money, but yeah. And then the press doesn't cover it because it's too in-depth. It takes too much thought. And I think it's articulated right. I'm not the person to articulate it, obviously. But it's, we're hanging within one or two people in the Senate of getting it. And it's a staffer that's blocking it, a staffer that actually is friendly to the Taliban. So, you got a real deal going on over there, and America's not paying attention. We're on the bright, shiny object. Right now, it's those cats out of Minnesota that are stealing, and we should be paying attention to that. But honestly, that's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, $5 billion to the Taliban? Good gracious. They'll hate us for free.
Yeah, they will hate you for free. That is for darn sure. When you look at a lot of the affordability issues that Americans are facing heading into this 2026 midterm cycle, I think it's no surprise that more and more people are becoming skeptical of foreign aid, regardless of what country it's going to, regardless of what issue it's going to. You could say, this is lunch meals for kids in Uganda.
Yeah.
And even some liberals are now asking questions about the validity of those types of programs.
Because they're getting heat from home.
That's
Again,
right.
It's the shiny object, but you got to keep the power of the thing to them. The problem with all that foreign aid, some of it flows back this way.
Right.
And that's where, they're going to delay it. Here's what we'll do. We're going to study that, and we'll write somebody a strong dadgum letter. And then we'll move on. Oh, wait, what about this new car wreck on the interstate? And, when I was mayor of Knox County, I used to say, when we were catching some heat on something or there's a tough issue, I said, boys, there's going to be another wreck on the interstate tomorrow. And I didn't want another wreck, but what that meant was the press would be on something else and the people be on something else. Because, and I'm guilty of this as anybody else, America wants their pizzas in 30 minutes or less, and that's about our dadgum attention span.
Yeah. When you're looking at inflation hovering around 4.4%, nevertheless, real wages are growing. It's outpacing inflation by about 1%. Pressures on the gas prices are going downward. I mean, Republicans going into this 2026 midterm, they are going to be fighting with Democrats over the narrative of affordability or unaffordability. What do you think Republicans should be talking about on these issues to create a winning message?
I think the key is messaging. I think they need to be talking. You go look around Congress. I suspect you go back to these guys' houses, and they're probably still driving around a 1974 AMC Gremlin with an 8-track tape player. And we got to figure out, that's why I'm fairly effective is social media. Mm-hmm. Forget the traditional. I'm going to go talk to my weekly newspaper and get an editorial. I'm going to need to write an editorial. And then in our conference, tout some bogus editorial somebody's written, and they'll send a memo or a video out, and guess what? It's shared within the conference, but they're not putting it out. Mm-hmm. We've got to get some young people in these old hands offices, or we got to get some young people in these offices that understand how to message, because we are terrible at messaging. The best friend the Democrats have right now is the Republican Party, because I think we've got a great message, but we're not putting it out. I saw a statistic this morning, and it clearly showed the inflation was tied to Biden's crazy spending, things that Republicans voted against. Yet, I looked around the room when they were doing it. A couple people were taking a picture of the slide, but most people were just, eating their breakfast. And we don't get it. And we've got to we have terrible messaging. And if you try to tell leadership, the problem with they get mad at you. Mm-hmm. They shoot the message carrier. I said, George W. Bush is not in the White House anymore, guys. This shooting the message carrier doesn't work.
Right. And one of the interesting things that people don't often know about Congress is that the incumbency domination of the lower chamber in particular is a modern phenomenon. Abraham Lincoln got one term in Congress. Why? He didn't lose re-election. It was constantly churning.
Yeah.
They were patriotic citizens back in home districts who were called upon by their fellow citizens, their fellow patriots, to go to Washington and serve for a short period of time. Even up to the turn of the 20th century, it was normal to have 15, 20, 25% turnover.
Oh, yeah.
You had some bigger turnover in the mid-century with the Johnson landslide, for example, against Barry Goldwater. You have some occasional peaks, but the fact that today, 90% of incumbents retain their seats and win their elections.
Fred Thompson, my U.S. Senator, since passed away, was a great friend of mine. He's told me, he said, Tim, you need to pass these laws, you need to go home and live underneath them. That's what he did. The worst thing they ever did in the Capitol building was put air conditioning in it. These guys think they need to be year-round. During the 50-day break or whatever you want to call it, I do more work when I'm at home, brother. This is a show up here. These, like I say, these post offices aren't going to name themselves. Mm-hmm. I do more work at home, and the reason I'm doing more work at home, I'm trying to fix all the problems that we've created up here. I have people can't hop through those hoops. Attorney, rich people can call him an attorney. Working folks call Tim Burchett.
Yeah.
And poor folks call Tim Burchett. And that's just the way it is. And it's a terrible system, but I've got people in my office, our office, that are the best in the country. We have people that model their offices about it. It's a smooth running machine, whether it's veterans, it's disability. I always tell people, if you got a problem, you call me, because I got a problem. I've worked at local, state, and now the federal level, and we know people at all those. And too many times we can't do that. That's really not our job. It is our dadgum job, because somebody calls and asks for me. And they don't. A lot of times they don't call for Congressman Burchett. Hey, is Tim there? Because they think they know me. They've seen me on television, social media, or I've knocked on their door when I'm running for office. And dadgummit, we got to get back to the basics, but we've got to get our messaging down, and we got to tell what we've done, because we've done some good things. We can do a whole lot more. Mm-hmm. These committees up here, real quick, and I know you probably got to go. The biggest problem with Washington right now is the committee system. It's the staffers. You have new leadership come in, and you'll retain over half the staffers because it's too dadgum big. You have committees that have 50 staff members, and what happens? You see a bill last week. Every week you see a bill that says it's a study. We're going to study this issue, brother. And that last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, they go in that big warehouse.
Yeah.
That's where all those studies go. I've been here for 8 dadgum years. I've never seen a study. So what happens? Good legislators got a great issue. I want to do something. Go see. You talk to the staff. Well, I don't think we can get that out of committee. I've literally heard chairmen say, "Oh, my staff would kill me if I tried to pass it," because they're in bed with the dadgum lobbyists. They're taking them on trips. They're whining them, dining them. They bought them a steak dinner, and that staffer, who nobody knows who they are, the bill goes through it's their area that they control, and without knowledge of the chairman, or maybe knowledge of the chairman, and that's how nothing gets done up here. Both parties do it, and it's a crooked system. We need to break it down. We need to get back a simpler form of government that deals with the people.
Well, I've got 2 more questions for you.
All right, let's roll. I'm going to run out of time. Go ahead.
So the first one is, Speaker Johnson recently told the Washington Post, I believe it was, that he's vetting midterm candidates for isolationist views, whatever the heck that means. As you and I have laid out here, one of the big problems is the incumbency problem. It's the status quo problem. It's the deep state establishment problem. And that just all seems like, in my mind, as someone who has been labeled an isolationist for my entire career, that in my mind is this is an effort to protect the status quo, even when Republicans were elected on a massive mandate for change.
I don't trust anything that's in the press. I don't know if he's taken out of context or not, because a lot of times he is. I mean, he was taken out. He was on some nice podcast this weekend, him and his beautiful wife, and everything they said was wrong. They pieced it out. But look, I don't represent these jugheads up here, and I would recommend people run on their heart, because you don't. You're really a whore if you don't. And Speaker Johnson's a good dude. I don't know what the context of that was, but I would repel against that.
Yeah.
Because I think Trump's proven it. We don't need to be we can't be everybody's fix it. And Biden proved it by giving everybody all their dadgum money. And now we're suffering from that because of inflation.
Yeah. You mentioned the importance of constituent services in lieu of you guys actually doing real legislative work here. You just introduced 3 crime bills. One of those bills is codifying a Trump executive order that tries to end, the homelessness crisis and the crime that homelessness creates. Talk to us about where those bills
Yeah.
are going to go, and also just generally the effort to codify Trump's executive orders.
I put in over 20 bills to codify Trump's executive orders. Again, he won with a huge amount. Congress is one flu season away from losing the majority, which will lose the Republic. Congress is gutless. You're not going to see anything out of much of those bills, or they'll be watered down and put into something because we don't want to offend anybody. And I'm sick of it. I said, I'm going to keep my bills clean. You're not going to amend them with a bunch of garbage on them. I don't like criminals. And I always say, we had one yesterday. I think my buddy Andy Biggs was tweeting about a guy that raped a little girl. And I said, give him a trial. Get a short piece of rope and a tall tree. I think America needs to get back to punishing the criminals and not the law-abiding citizens, and those are indicators of that. And part of it too is you'll see it'll probably be consumed, some of that in a bigger bill. One of the beautiful people up here that kisses a lot of butt that'll get to pass the bill, and they'll let me sign on as a token of their good graces. And that's what runs this place up here, and it's gross, but it's both parties. So I'm just going to keep fighting, dude. I get frustrated. I go home on the weekends with my beautiful wife and daughter, and I come back energized, ready to. I think about my folks, dude. I got that 48-star flag on the wall that's on my uncle's casket, and I just do not want all that to happen in vain. Reagan said it. We are one generation away from losing everything, brother. We're one vote series away from losing everything. It is that close.
Congressman Burchett, keep up the good fight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Signal Sitdown. Before you go, be sure to hit like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you may be joining us. And please remember to give us a 5-star review. We not only love your feedback, but it really does help the show. Remember, it's your government, and together we'll expose how it really works. See you next time.